I rise today in honor of his life and legacy. I got to meet Sargent Shriver when I was a Peace Corps trainee in 1963, about 22 years old, in a small little town in New Mexico, Cuesta, New Mexico. And I was in awe that I, as a trainee, could meet the first director of the Peace Corps. He embodied the relentless spirit of public service that makes America great. He will forever hold a special place in our country's history. I remember just the vitality and spirit that he had that just drove me to want to be even more a Peace Corps volunteer at a time when nobody really knew what they did because they hadn't come home yet. So it was really a risk, an adventure, really not sure that was this the best thing to do. And yet I look back with pride and admiration of what a privilege it was to serve under his leadership. With the Peace Corps, Sargent Shriver took President Kennedy's vision of service and optimism and built it into one of America's best institutions. After 3 years as director of the agency, the Peace Corps had more than 6,500 volunteers serving in nearly 50 developing countries. And he once told me the story that in those days, with the president's own budgeting, they were able to place Peace Corps volunteers in Latin America and Africa before Congress ever got around to authorizing the program. And these volunteers showed the world the true American values of peace, prosperity, and opportunity that had been eclipsed by the Cold War. Over the past 50 years, through war and conflict, Sargent's foundational work of the Peace Corps has enabled volunteers to show the world a hopeful, uplifting side of America that reflects our fundamental values of service and tolerance. Today, Sargent's legacy lives on in 250,000 Americans who have served as Peace Corps volunteers in 139 countries around the world, all in the name of peace and goodwill. Beyond the Peace Corps, Sargent Shriver was actively engaged in civic society. He served as ambassador to France, leader of the War on Poverty, is the first director of the Office of Economic Opportunity, which began the Head Start programs, which began VISTA, Volunteers in Service to America, and as a vice presidential candidate. His touch can be found on some of our nation's finest efforts, including the Special Olympics and racial integration. But above all, Sargent's devotion to public service was beyond reproach. And it is like his wife, Eunice, who really started the Special Olympics. And I might add that the Special Olympics is now in more countries than is the Peace Corps. I can't think of a married couple in America, who have done more worldwide than Eunice Shriver and Sargent Shriver to help people in need. I always hold my special memories of sharing Peace Corps stories with Sargent Shriver, or Sarge as we called him. At various events that honored the agency, we both got to speak. And one of my most significant moments in my life was the privilege of being presented with a Peace Corps Public Service Award in 2006 by Sargent Shriver. To all that knew him, Sargent Shriver was a man of tremendous heart and vision, who leaves behind a living legacy of service and hope. That legacy of public service lives on in the lives of his children. Their mother died in 2009, but today we have daughter Maria, who was the First Lady of California. We have their 4 other children, son Robert Shriver of Santa Monica, who's an activist in California, former Maryland delegate Mark Shriver of Bethesda, Maryland, Tim Perry Shriver of Chevy Chase, both involved in Special Olympics, and Amy. Most of all, they have 19 children. I'd like, without objection, to enter material in the record.
Without objection.
Thank you.